Welcome to I Want That, getting the dates, love, and life you crave. I'm Liza Cooper, your host, a love and dating coach, and founder of the online group workshop, Find Love After 50. My story of finding love and, more importantly, reawakening all the parts of me I thought were gone forever after 50 and after divorce went viral on social media because it resonated for so many. Join me as I interview couples, singles, and experts to uncover what love means in all of its beautiful forms, including the hurdles and how to overcome them. I'll also share the questions strangers have asked me on the streets of New York City about dating and relationships, where I'm known as the Love Coach. Together, we'll have powerful conversations that light the path to getting everything you want in life, especially in matters of the heart. As we go into Series 1, The Bachelor Files, Episode 5, Why Did You Break My Heart? I talked to the Bachelor, my first boyfriend after divorce, and the featured man in my winning and viral Moth Story. And I asked him why. Why did he think that he was wasting my time and that we were not a good match? And he tells me. So tune in. Before we show my interview with a bachelor, listen to a quick clip of a stranger asking me how I can be a love coach if I'm divorced.
If you're not married, then, how can you give advice to other people?
Oh, people ask me that question a lot. I've had a lot of loving relationships in my life, and I don't think of it that way, actually. I don't think things have to last forever.
I also am curious about what you didn't like about me, but we'll get into that a little later. But there's something people didn't know about that night I did the Moth Story, that it was the first time I ever did a moth. I had been going to the Moth for 20 years. I took you to your first Moth. We had like an amazing time. But this one was after we ended our relationship. It was a couple months later, I think.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, can you tell me where you were the night of that Moth?
Sure. Well, I remember we went to 3 moths. You were introducing me to the moth. The third, you did get picked, and I was in the audience and I was videoing it.
Yeah. So you were there and we weren't a couple anymore, but you were, I think you knew that you were in the story, but you didn't really know. So what was it like hearing? And I know you watched it the other night, like as a refresher.
Yeah,
Um,
it's good.
what'd you think when you watched it again?
I fell in love with you all over again. I no, I truthfully, I watched it last night and I I thought it's no wonder we dated. It's no wonder we've remained in each other's lives. As a single person, if I was watching, I was sort of like, yeah, if I wanted a girlfriend, I'd want that person to be my girlfriend. That's my type. Looks, personality, what she's saying, depth. No, it was a flashback that reminded me of the connection and the attraction.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
And what was it like that night when I won that moth, which was a competition, but what was it like as the story unfolded? You'd never heard it before, and you were very central in that story.
It was a variety of emotions. It was this feeling of happiness that you were getting up there to do it. It was this feeling of certain elements of remorse, uh, certain lines in it reminded me, oh, maybe I was unaware of how saying something could be hurtful. What I thought might have been, here's me being honest. Oh, that was maybe a little sudden and abrupt. So it was, I had never been in an audience anywhere where I, on some level, was the subject of someone's art, and in a way that deconstructed us and deconstructed me to some level that couldn't help but force me to look in the mirror and all that. So it was a variety of emotions.
And was there any line that particularly affected you or
um I think the line that affected me the most was, your reference, I said something, oh, what did I say? I said, I think I'm wasting your time. And that you said it hit you, you said like a bullet or,
And it hit me like a bullet.
yeah. And, and, look, I can sometimes, in my desire to express and be honest, I can sometimes kind of perhaps lose how that honesty might hit someone. And
Hmm.
so, there I thought I was sort of being honest, assessing where we were and what maybe we each wanted. And it couldn't help but feel sudden and hurtful. And so hearing that it hit you like a bullet, I didn't know that. So that was a line that stood out. Certainly the funny line, that the laugh line in it, when you say I took him to see the one about where the theme was baggage and then pregnant pause because I thought he had some, that was a good one. So a couple lines stand out. Certainly the theme of I want that type of stuff.
What about, so I think at one point I said that you were a hardcore bachelor and you weren't a fan of kids, monogamy, or love.
Yes.
Was that fair? Like, what do you think of that?
You're about half right.
Which half?
Well, I don't like kids. Although I found your son very charming and still do, or I haven't seen him in a few years. Um, I'm not a kid person. And you were the first person I dated with a young child, and he was 9 at the time, but that's young. I mean, it's not like a toddler, but he was young, and so your world is immersed in children. I'm not even somebody who says, uh, I love kids. I just didn't want them. I just generally don't connect, don't enjoy children. So you're right about that. The second one was monogamy. I have mixed feelings about that. I have a lifestyle that I really like, which is me single or me dating. And I've tried over the years monogamous relationships, some with people better suited for me than others. You were someone I think was well suited for me. But inevitably, I think I've been single so long and like a certain lifestyle of mine, not necessarily like a sleeping around lifestyle, just a answer to myself and not other people kind of thing. That I like being single. I even ended something with someone a couple of years ago, and it was probably the most honest breakup I ever said. I said, I think I identify more as an I than a we. Um, and I think that hit her the same way you were. And again, I was, trying to be honest. But at the same time, I still have a romantic notion that there is something or someone out there that might change how I feel about that. I mean, I am still out there dating. I am still on the apps. And mostly, I think my MO is I'm looking for casual, hoping for more. And so I have mixed feelings about monogamy. I can find it restricting a lot of times, and that's my own shit. Um, because I can find it restricting even with someone who expands my world. But I struggle with that. The third one, I think that's where or that I don't even believe in love, right? Is that the line?
Yeah.
Yeah, see that is not true. I really do believe in connection. I believe in love. I think that love can come in many forms. I think in our own way, we love each other. We are dear to each other. We are supportive of each other. Even now, it's more through texts and stuff like that. We're both living our lives, but here we are doing this podcast. I think that love doesn't necessarily need to happen in the form of a traditional monogamous relationship. It can be in the form of a friendship. It can be in the form of someone you dated 4 or 5 months who left an indelible mark on you, but maybe you're just not a long-term match, or maybe someone's so wedded to their single life, even if you are a good match. So, but I do believe in love. That's where I thought it was. That in the Moth? that long?
Yeah.
Maybe I
And
blocked
I
it out.
think
Yeah.
I think that hurt you. I remember you telling me that that hurt because that, that
Yeah.
you sort of took,
Would
you didn't agree with
it
that.
made me feel like I'm cold or that I'm just looking to go hopping from bed to bed, and that's not really who I think I am. So that was the one line I thought, yeah, that didn't really strike as true to me.
Yeah. No, and I think it was, I did it for dramatic effect because I
But
think you definitely love.
a creative
uh,
license to get an award-winning Moth Story sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. That was the line that made it win. Um, and and I think that, so what would you say didn't work for us? Like why were you wasting my time? Like, do you think that was a accurate statement on your part? And why didn't we work out? Like people that saw, especially on TikTok, there were a lot of comments that they wanted the bachelor's perspective. They wanted your Moth Story, which you alluded to writing, which I think you didn't end up writing, but they wanted your story and they only were hearing my version.
Right. Um, I mean, I think to some degree it really was about feeling like we probably wanted different things. Um, I sensed from you then. I think I'm right about what you were looking for now. I think you want a probably a more entwined relationship than maybe I thought I could give you, and that maybe I'm often feel like I'm not capable of. I think that played a big part. I think you could go along with someone casual if you're both feeling casual, right? It just, let's see each other every once a week, do it, or whatever. But I think there were clearly a lot of feelings between us and a deep connection. And I was kind of looking at it as, do we want the same things? Um, so there was that. And then and so the way that sort of manifested itself, and I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but you would go during this, we were heading into the summer months. And so there were weekends that you were away at your uh, bungalow.
Yeah.
And then I came with you one weekend and I felt very disconnected from the place. I can be introverted. I arguably can, people are sort of guilty to me and then prove innocent as opposed to the other. So I can get a little prickly in an environment where I feel like I'm not kind of fitting in, and I didn't feel like I fit into that. So I felt like, and then after that, I didn't come again. And so there were weekends where you were in town and I was couples, and then there were weekends where you were there and I was just back to being singles. And singles wasn't dating around or sleeping around, but I was just kind of having my lunches at my lunch place with myself and living my life. And I was sort of felt on some level more myself in those weekends than the weekends that we were coupled. And it wasn't that we were having a great time when we were coupled. We always had a connection. Even when I went to the bungalow and I was feeling a little out of sorts, like I don't think these are my kind of people. And we had a great time ultimately, in the end. And um, we had a really great weekend. We went away. I think it was your birthday weekend, and we went to Asbury Park.
Hmm.
And that was a very enjoyable weekend. So it wasn't like the weekends, we were having great weekends, but it was sort of like, but I'm also having these great weekends when you were away. And maybe like a healthier person would just be like, well, that's great. You're in a relationship and one weekend, but somehow I felt like I was on some level missing, to use your word, the bachelor life. And not, again, not about sleeping around and that, but just the certain level of freedom that does go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's pretty profound. I don't think we have talked about that ever.
Yeah.
Um, no, and I appreciate you sharing that. And I'm curious because there's often bachelors out there that the women I coach are dating or interested in, or I've dated. And what do you think about women falling in love with sort of real bachelors like that love their single independence? Like, do you think that's workable, or what do you think that?
Well, I think people always, to some degree, want a little bit what they can't have. Um, I mean, it goes back to like high school. I wanted all these girls that wanted no part of me. And the more you feel like they're rebuffing you, the more you go for it. I don't know. I think that there could be something about people that are, I would say unattainable, but where there's sometimes maybe a romantic notion into something where there's a barrier.
Mm.
And it adds maybe to the drama. Or sometimes, I don't think this is necessarily in your case, but I think sometimes people could want somebody who is not available, and it's because maybe deep down they don't really want to be in something either. I don't necessarily think that's the case with you, but I have dated some people where I feel like, their interest in me might have something to do with they know what the problem is, and they kind of want to still be single too, but there's a better way to maybe enjoy the drama of romance without the actual completion of becoming a full-on couple, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And super insightful, I would say. That's really insightful and might describe me. Thanks for tuning into I Want That, The Bachelor Files. This episode, I think, really goes into the bachelor lifestyle, the independence, the need for freedom, and how easy is that to navigate as a person who doesn't have that lifestyle? Is it doable? I think that's an interesting analysis. I think it is doable, but both people have to want that and be getting enough out of it that they both feel happy and have most of their needs met. So, final episode for The Bachelor Files is, can he commit? So, he didn't commit to me, but could he commit to someone? Do bachelors ever commit? I asked the bachelor himself. So tune into that episode. If you liked my podcast, I Want That, please subscribe to my channel so you know when updates are coming and new episodes drop. Also, like it, comment, and share. Thank you.